Day girls, and welcome back to the class. We'll continue with Science and Technology 1, Refraction of Light. We were supposed to do this lesson in two parts. We have already finished the first part where we discussed about refraction, the definition, the laws of refraction. Today we are going to see the effect of atmospheric condition on refraction of light. Now, the effect of refraction of light can be seen in the twinkling of stars. In the KG, you have learnt, no, the poem Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, how I wonder what you are up above the world so high. Yes, up above the world so high. So you have learned this right from the lower class that the star is very, very far away from the earth. It is even outside the solar system. What makes the star to twinkle? You have learnt, no? Stars twinkle and planets do not twinkle. Now, what makes the star twinkle? That is what we are going to see in this. Now, if you look in this diagram, you can see the star over here and the person standing over here. This is the actual position of the star. But the person is able to see the star in a little raised position. Okay. Now we know that stars are self-luminous, means it has its own light. And that is the reason we are not able to see the star at night. We are not able to see the star at day, during the day, because of the sun's light. So we are able to see the star very clearly in the absence of sunlight at night. Okay. Now stars are not only far away from us, but they are very huge in size. They are much bigger than our planets and they are much bigger than the sun in our solar system. But being very far away, they appear to be a very point source of light. Now I'm sure what you know what is the meaning of point source. Okay. So those stars are very huge. They appear to be a point source to us. Now when the rays of light that comes from the star, they come towards the earth. Now what is happening here is the density of the air increases when it comes towards the earth. So here star, when it is outside the solar system, there is no air. We can say almost vacuum. So the density is almost zero. But as the density of air increases with the lowering height above the earth's surface, as the light comes closer and closer to the earth's surface, you know the earth is covered with the atmosphere. So the density increases as we are coming closer and closer to the earth. So we can say that the light travels from a rarer medium to a denser medium when it is coming down. So when air comes from a rarer medium, when it enters the earth's atmosphere, it is coming into a denser medium. So the density of the air increases from the star or to the earth's surface. At the same time, we can say that the refractive index also increases. So when starlight comes or travels from a rarer medium to a denser medium, it constantly bends towards the normal. We have learned, no, in the first video, when the air travels from when the light travels from a rarer medium to a denser medium, it bends towards the normal. So we can see as the density increases, refractive index increases, and there is a curved path that is followed because of bending of light, because of refraction due to difference in the medium. Okay, and that is why the person is able to see the star in a little raised position. Okay, or I can say this makes the star appear to be higher in the sky as compared to its actual position. Now, you might say this is the original position and this is the apparent position. But this apparent position also keeps on changing because every time, because of the temperature and the other reasons, the density of the air keeps on changing. When the density of the air keeps on changing because of factors like temperature and the other factors, the refractive index also keeps on changing. So because of this, refractive index of air keeps changing continuously, the position, okay, of the star or the brightness of the star also keeps changing continuously, and we say that the star, or we can say that the star appears to be twinkling. Now This does not happen with the planet. We don't say that the planet twinkle. First reason is the planet is very close to the earth. It is inside our solar system. Okay, and therefore they don't appear as a point source of light, but they appear as a collection of many point, or we can call them as an extended source of light. But here also, when the light comes from the planet towards the earth, the refractive index keeps on changing because the density keeps on increasing, and we say that the light travels from a rarer medium to a denser medium. So because of here also what happened, the position as well as the brightness of the individual point source change, but the average position and the total average brightness remains unchanged, and we say that the planets do not twinkle. So here we see these things happening because of refraction of light. Now here again another wonderful phenomena happens over here. Okay, another effect of atmospheric refraction is an early sunrise. Now when we say sunrise, okay, now suppose this is the earth over here and this line is called as the horizon. Where a person over here on this position can see the sun if the sun is on the horizon or above the horizon. Now in this picture you can see the sun is below the horizon, and yet the person standing on this point is able to see the sun. Now why does that happen? Again the same thing. It is because of refraction. Now the sun here is below the horizon, but when the rays of light comes from the sun, what happened? There is a change in refractive index because of the density. The density keeps on increasing as you are moving towards the earth. Okay, so every time what happens when it is moving from a rarer medium to a denser medium, at the normal what happens, it is bending away from the normal, and you can see a curve being formed over here, the path. Okay, and therefore the person who's here in this position can see the sun. So this is the apparent position of the sun. Thus we see the sun even before it emerges above the horizon. Same thing happens at the time of sunset, and we keep seeing the sun for a short while even after it goes below the horizon. So we saw two effects of atmospheric refraction. Now we go to another subtopic in this chapter, that is dispersion of light. Now you must have seen while playing, or you can do the small experiment at home. You can hold a plastic scale, okay, in front of your eyes, and through it you can see through it while turning it slowly. You can see the 7 colors appearing from the other side. These 7 colors that you can see is in the order of violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange and red. Okay, now how does that happen? Now light is an electromagnetic radiation. Okay, now wavelength is an important property of radiation. Now our eyes are sensitive, or our eyes can see the radiation of light in the wavelength between 400 to 700 nanometer. In this interval, radiation of different wavelength appears to have different colors mentioned above. The red light has maximum wavelength, that is 700 nanometer, while the violet light has the smallest wavelength, close to 400 nanometer. Now remember that 1 nanometer is 10 raised to minus 9 meter. Okay. Now what is dispersion of light? Now in vacuum, the velocity of the light rays of all frequencies are same. Now just now what did we discuss? That when a white light, you can see from a white light, when it passes through a plastic scale, you can see 7 different colors. Okay. Now in vacuum, so what happening in vacuum, the velocity of light rays of all the frequencies are same, that is of all between 400 nanometer to 700 nanometer. If this light is passing through the vacuum, the velocities of all these are same. But the velocity of the light in a medium depends upon the frequency of light, and thus different colors travel with different in a medium, different for different colors. For example, when a white light enters a single medium like glass, the angle of refraction are different for different colors. If you look at over here, suppose this white light is traveling in vacuum, the velocity of all the different colors are the same. That means you can only see it in vacuum, you can see the white light as only white light. But this same white light, when it enters the prism, okay, the medium changes. In this medium, what happened? The different colors of different wavelength, okay, the refraction takes place in different angle. When, again I repeat, when white light enters a single medium like glass, the angle of refraction are different for different colors. That is why you can see over here the angle of refraction for red is least and the angle of refraction for violet is maximum. That is why you can see the violet rays bend maximum and the bending of red light is the least, and in between you have those different colors. This is possible only when the white light enters a particular medium. So I say again, when white light coming from the sun through air enters any refractive or refracting medium, it emerges as a spectrum, or we can say band of 7 colors, or we can say a spectrum of 7 colors. Actually, white light consists of all these colors, but this splitting up takes place only when it enters a medium. So here, you keeping these points in mind, we can define dispersion of light. The process of separation of light into its component colors while passing through a medium is called the dispersion of light. Now this phenomena, or this was first found out by Sir Isaac Newton using a prism. Okay, he found that when white light is incident on a prism, different colors bend through different angles. Okay, among the 7 colors, I repeat, red bends the least while violet bends the most. Okay, you can learn this diagram. I hope you've understood what is dispersion of light. We go to another concept over here, a very important concept, partial and total internal reflection. This is very important and very important to understand how a mirage takes place. But the mirage part of the part is cancelled, okay? But we will be studying this part, okay? Now here in this diagram picture, you can see 2 medium. One is air and one is water. You can see there is a source of light here in water. Now we are going to study over here the refraction and reflection taking from a denser medium to a rarer medium. Now in this picture you can see here it is marked reflected rays. These are not reflected rays, these are actually refracted rays. What you can see down here, these rays are called as reflected rays. Okay, so make change in this is as given in the textbook. Okay, so these are actually refracted rays. Okay, now here we have a point source of light. Okay, so you can see we are studying the effect of this incident ray in different point on the surface of the water. So we are going to study 4 different incident rays. Okay, so here we are going to study the effects, okay, from a denser medium to a rarer medium. Let us take the first ray. Okay, so here an incident ray over here, okay, and there is a normal drawn over here. You can see part of the light is refracted and part of the light is reflected. Now we are not going to study this reflected part, we are going to study the refracted part of the picture. Okay, so here we have this ray of light. So this is called as the angle of incidence. This is angle I. Now it is going from a denser medium to a rarer medium. So you have learned that when light rays enters from a denser medium to a rarer medium, it moves away from the normal. And this angle R is known as the angle of refraction. Since it moves away from the normal, angle of refraction is greater than the angle of incidence. If this is 30 degree, we can just say this could be 40 degrees. Means it is more than 30 degree. Now let us study the next ray, which comes from again this denser medium. That is this ray. This ray also, if you see, a part of the ray gets refracted and a part of the ray gets reflected back into the denser medium. Now here you have an angle of incidence. Let us name this angle of incidence as I1. Okay, and this refracted ray, definitely here it is moving from a denser medium to a rarer medium, so it bends away from the normal. So here I can say that R1 is greater than I1. Here I1 is greater than I, so R1 has to be greater than R. So if I say this as 40, I can say this as 60, for example. Okay, now let us go to the third ray. Okay, here. Now for this here, again here you have an angle here IC. Okay, IC will be greater than I1 and I1 will be greater than I. Here also you have the refracted ray. Now this refracted ray, you can see it is along the surface of the water, if you can see, in such a way that this angle of refraction is equal to 90 degree. Okay, if this is 40, if this is 50, this is 90. That means every time you are going away, the angle of incidence increases and angle of refraction also increases. Okay, so here you have IC and here you have R is equal to 90 degree. Now, here is the important thing you have to know. Okay, any question could be asked over here. Okay, for a particular value of I repeat, for a particular value of I, the value of R becomes 90 degree, then this value of I is called as the critical angle. I repeat, for a particular value of I, the value of R becomes 90 degree, then this value of I is called as the critical angle, and that is why we are writing it as IC. When we say for any refraction, if angle of incidence is IC, that means angle of refraction is 90 degree. Okay, now we go to the fourth ray this here. Now as I said over here, the value of this R 90 degree, this is R1 less than 90 and R is less than R1. So here this angle, okay, is less than this, or you can say 90 is greater than R1 and R1 is greater than R. Definitely for the next one, here R, the angle of refraction will be greater than 90 degree. So when we say for this here, if this R is 90 degree, for the next ray, angle of refraction will be greater than 90 degree. It will be an obtuse angle with respect to the normal. That means for I, this refraction, if this I is greater than critical angle. If this I is greater than the critical angle, then the ray does not get refracted, but it gets reflected into the same medium. Okay, this phenomena is known as total internal reflection. Okay, so you have a total internal reflection when the incident angle is greater than the critical angle, then the rays of light does not get refracted, but you can see a total internal reflection. We can determine the value of the critical angle as follows. Okay, now here the refractive index of medium 1 with respect to 2 is sin I upon sin R. Okay, now for total internal reflection, I stands for critical angle and R stands for, and R is 90 degree. So you're going to substitute value of R as 90 degree over here. So you have sin I upon sin R, so is equal to sin I. Okay, now the most beautiful phenomena that we are going to study in this chapter is the formation of a rainbow. A rainbow is a beautiful natural phenomena. Now we have learned refraction, we have learned dispersion of light, and we have learned what is total internal reflection. Okay, now the combination of all these things in an orderly manner leads to the formation of a rainbow. So we can say a rainbow is a combined effect of dispersion, refraction, and total internal reflection of light. Now we normally see a rainbow after a rainfall. Okay, now here to explain this, now here I can for the formation of a rainbow, small droplets of water acts as a prism. We saw the dispersion of light. No, a glass prism is there. White light flows through it, and a spectrum of 7 colors are formed. So here in the formation of a rainbow, the small droplet of water acts as a prism. Okay. Now here you can see when the white light enters the prism. Here in case it is the drop of water, or you can say water droplet. Two things takes place over here. It is going from a rarer medium to a denser medium. So when white light enters the water droplet, refraction takes place and dispersion of light takes place. Okay, here refraction of light takes place, and we have seen in that prism, no, white light bends the least and a red light bends the least and white bends the maximum. Okay, so dispersion of light takes place over here. Okay, and you can see the 7 bends. Then here total internal reflection takes place and the rays of light is reflected, and again it gets refracted and moves out, and we can see the beautiful rainbow. So you see in this process, refraction takes place twice. One here when light enters the droplet, and the second refraction takes place when the rays of light leaves the prism. So you see here in the beginning, refraction and dispersion takes place, then total internal reflection of light takes place, and then the last is again the refraction takes place, and we can see the beautiful rainbow. So all these processes together produce the rainbow. Okay, so in this chapter we have done 2 videos. In the first one we have mainly concentrated on the refraction part, and in the second video we have seen the effects of the atmosphere on the refraction and various phenomena. Okay, we have studied over here. We have studied the formation of a rainbow. We have learned total internal reflection. We have studied. We have also seen why stars twinkle and planets do not twinkle, and dispersion of light. Okay, now let us go into the numericals that is there in this chapter. Okay, question number 4a. If speed of light in a medium is 1.5 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second, what is the absolute refractive index of the medium? Okay, now absolute refractive index means with respect to vacuum. You must remember, whenever we talk about absolute, the word absolute means with respect to vacuum. Okay, now let's see what is given. Velocity of light in the medium is 1.5 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second, and velocity of light in vacuum is 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. This is not given in the question. You have to know this. Okay, now we have to find the refractive index of a medium with respect to vacuum. The formula here is refractive index of the material with respect to vacuum is equal to velocity of light in vacuum upon velocity of light in the medium. Okay, so it is 3 into 10 raised to 8 upon 1.5 into 10 raised to 8. 10 raised to 8 and 10 raised to 8 will get cancelled. So 3 upon 1.5, the answer is 2. Okay, we got another sum over here. If the absolute refractive index of glass means refractive index of glass with respect to vacuum, okay, and water are 3 by 2 and 4 by 3 respectively, what is the refractive index of glass with respect to water? Okay, now see what they have asked, what they have given. They have given refractive index of glass with respect to vacuum. Why? Because they have used the word absolute. So when they use the word absolute means it is with respect to vacuum. So refractive index of glass with respect to water is 2 by 3, and refractive index of water with respect to vacuum is 4 by 3, and we have to find the refractive index of glass with respect to water. Okay, now what is given? Refractive index of glass with respect to vacuum is 2 by 3. The formula is velocity of light in vacuum upon velocity of light in glass. Second, what is given is refractive index of water with respect to vacuum, that is given as 4 upon 3. The formula is velocity of light in vacuum upon velocity of light in water. We have done this formulas in the first video. Now we have to find the refractive index of glass with refractive water. So the formula is velocity of light in water upon velocity of light in glass. Now we don't know the value of VW, we don't know the value of VG. So what we are going to do is, we are going to take this formula and multiply the numerator and denominator by velocity of light in vacuum upon velocity of light in vacuum. So the formula for refractive index of glass with respect to water is VW upon VG. We multiply the numerator and denominator by velocity of light in vacuum, okay, in the numerator and denominator, just for mathematical working. Okay, now we have the value of VV upon VG and VV upon VW. Okay, so what we are going to do is, we are going to take VW upon VV and V, that is velocity of light in vacuum, upon velocity of light in glass. So we are going to separate these two fractions like this. So we are going to take this as the numerator, VV, and we are going to take VG as the denominator. Okay, and the remaining VW and VV. I hope you can understand. Now the value of V, velocity of light in vacuum, upon velocity of light in glass, is given to be 3 upon 2. Can you see? So we are going to write 3 upon 2. Now here we have VW upon VV. Now here we don't have VW, we have VV upon VW. Now VV upon VW is 4 by 3. So VW upon VV will be 3 by 4. So we are writing 3 by 4 over here. So okay, so we are going to multiply this. 3 into 3 is 9 and 2 4s are 8. So your answer is 9 upon 8. So we are finished with this chapter. Basically, this chapter has got lot of concepts. It's a conceptual chapter. Unless you don't understand certain concept, girls, it will be it will be little difficult to answer certain questions. In this chapter, many application based questions can be asked. The answer will not be in the textbook, but the concept is there in the textbook. So many application based questions can be asked in the exam. So try to understand the concept. Whenever a give reason is asked, understand which concept you are going to use. Are you going to use a concept of internal reflection? Are you going to use a concept of refraction, or is it dispersion of light? If you can understand that, if you write the definition, you will get 1 mark. Okay, so very important for you to go through and read the textbook, especially diagrams. Diagrams are important. Okay, so read the lessons properly, and all the best.